Big wreck at Daytona 500. One of the scariest moments for you personally.
It happened so fast. I didn't have time to get scared. I just smashed into Ryan Newman when he was upside down. But I mean, yeah, it's if you do this stuff for a long time, man, it's inevitable you're going to get some big ass crashes, and I've had my fair share, unfortunately.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original, presented by Blade HQ. Just go to bladehq.com/oil and whiskey to check out their selection of knives, and then hopefully we'll be showing you some of our new stuff here very shortly. Today's guest is the NASCAR Cup Series driver of the number 7 Next Gen Chevy Camaro and host of Stacking Pennies podcast, Corey LaJoie. We're also taking some more of your listener questions later on in the show. Corey LaJoie is a NASCAR Cup Series driver in his 5th year on the circuit with 4 top 10 finishes. He's a third-generation driver. His father, Randy LaJoie, won Xfinity Series championship in 1996 and 1997. He's also the host of the podcast Stacking Pennies, an official NASCAR podcast. To learn more about Corey, visit his website at CoreyLaJoieRacing.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Corey LaJoie and Instagram at Corey LaJoie. Corey LaJoie, welcome to Oil and Whiskey.
Man, thanks for having me. You caught me in the middle of a mountain bike ride here in Kansas City. I had the day off. We flew up. The boys rolling that thing through tech, so I try to throw my mountain bike in the trailer as often as possible to get it in different terrains. Pretty cool. Yeah, I'm glad I got some cell phone service for you boys. But yeah, Kansas City actually has pretty great cell service. In case you were wondering.
Nice.
So we'll get right into this deal, man. Third generation, you've been around, you've been in the industry, in the scene for a while, obviously, since I guess you were born. Tell us a little bit about what you remember growing up and the differences, especially as of late with this new next gen car.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my dad was a 2-time Busch Series champion back in the day. You know, some of my favorite memories growing up were with travel on the road in the motorhome with Dad, making memories there, whether it was riding bikes to the racetrack or going, we'd bounce in between races. We go to Niagara Falls and Arch. We went all over the country as a family. So that was a lot of the memories I had growing up. Now they got a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old at the house. I'm excited to make those memories with my kids, hopefully for the next foreseeable future. If I don't get fired between, now and the time they can remember some motorhome trips, but it's been good, man. It's been a grind for sure. So keep treading water, and luckily I've found a pretty decent home here at Spire. I want to be back next year, and hopefully we can keep building on it.
Growing up in it, obviously you were around it. Did you know from an early age that this is what I want to fucking do, or were you ready to get out of it and something brought you back? Where did that go?
No, so I played baseball through high school along with racing. I was too short and slow and couldn't jump high enough to play basketball. I stopped playing basketball my sophomore year in high school. But I was just enough to kid myself that I could have went decently far in baseball, and I didn't have the passion for it. All I wanted to do was race, and all I wanted to work on was race cars, and I wanted to be at the racetrack all the time. But it wasn't. I got bit by the racing bug when I was probably 7 years old. I remember the exact spot I was at Darlington. Dad just raced a Busch Series race. I was holding my mom's hand walking through the garage after the race was over, and there's all these cars that are beat up and scuffed from the wall, and they're covered in rubber marks and sand blasted and the whole deal. And I just remember that smell, and just the smell of the burnt rubber and racing fuel, and just like the calamity and like the chaos of the garage after the race. And I was like, that was like when I realized, this shit's pretty cool, and kind of stuck with it and got some lucky breaks and started really taking it serious when I was probably 16, 17 years old. And next thing you know, I'm 6 years of this thing and just getting started.
That's wicked. So where does all that start? Like behind the wheel of a go-kart, or where do you start, like cutting your teeth? Or
go-karts are probably the easiest to get going for sure, because there's so many there's so many racetracks around, no matter where you are, whether it's dirt tracks or asphalt. And after go-karts, that's when the forks start happening with, if you're a Southeast guy, you start going more towards like late model stocks or super late models and racing on, 3/8 to half mile oval asphalt tracks. And then if you're in the West Coast, there's more sprint car tracks like the Kyle Larson route where you can go dirt track racing and you can go sprint car racing all the way. There's guys, that make an entire career out of racing sprint cars and make a damn good living doing it. But Larson was able to make the jump there when he was 20 or so. He got picked up by Toyota, and obviously the rest is history on his. But I kind of went the asphalt route, just the standard late model stock. K&N, it was K&N East at the time that I did it, and then trucks Xfinity, and you try to get a seat at the table on Sunday. Man, that's pretty damn hard to get. I've got a pretty good one, so I don't want to get rid of it.
Nice.
Did you ever race a snowball back in the day?
Yeah, I raced it 4 or 5 times. I don't think I've finished one. I feel like I've broken something. We've been running the top 3 or 4 every single one. That's a badass race for sure. That place bites me every time I go down there, but I'd love to go down there and get a Tom Dawson trophy for sure.
I've never talked to anybody. I mean, I'm not in it like you are, obviously, but I've never talked to anybody that has raced it that has fond memories. I don't know if anybody's ever finished well there. I've tried to tell these guys about it. Tell them a little bit about the Snowball Derby. Real quick about. I mean, you've got hundreds of guys trying to race into this thing, and then even when they do, there's still way too many cars for the size of the track that there is.
It makes it interesting.
Well, you obviously haven't talked to anybody that won, because then I'm sure they have some pretty fond memories. got a trophy on their shelf, but it's the hardest short track race in the country, where, like you said, there's probably legitimately 85 cars. It's on a half mile track in Pensacola, Florida. And about 25, 30 of them are full-time guys that race there pretty much every week during the summer. So they got their stuff tuned in. And then you've got guys from the West Coast come down. You've got guys from Canada come down. Everybody that's got a super late model in the country wants to go win a Snowball Derby. And I've come close. The last time I was there, I burned a clutch up running second. Thought we had our best shot to win there, but that's definitely a fun one. So, yeah, I mean, there's places where you're nervous to qualify. One lap, lay it on the line, see. We call it. You just say you got to put it on the dash, and that's putting your balls on the dash in case you're wondering what you're putting on the dash. But,
Yeah.
Like, there's places on the Cup schedule like Dover. It's a big 1 mile fast concrete track that'll scare you a bit. There, Charlotte, you got to put them on the dash, but like, there's no feeling like qualifying at Pensacola, because they only lock the top 30 in, so you don't want to miss it, and you have to be so perfect. So that's the most nervous I'll get behind the wheel, is qualifying for Snowball Derby. So that's how important it is. But yeah, and then you got your real job on Sundays, which is okay occasionally.
So when did it start? When did stars start aligning and stuff start really happening as you're coming up and thinking you're fixing to get a shot?
Man, it's I don't know if there's a distinct moment where stuff really started clicking, but I do feel like with every passing year that I face less of a headwind to try to get my name out there and build the brand. But I feel like I was signed to a development contract with Richard Petty Motorsports. I don't even know what year it was, 2010 maybe, and with plans to run the Xfinity car a couple of years and then be in the Cup car. And they had all my pay notched out for the next 5 years. I thought I had the world by the balls, and they couldn't get any sponsorship drummed up, and that whole development deal kind of fizzled away, and I was left with no driving opportunities. And I started crew chiefing for a guy out in Bakersfield, California, in like the single A division. It's what ARC is now. So I was flying up to Bakersfield, California to set this guy's car up. We'd go race, and I'd fly back and forth. And I rubbed shoulders with the guy at Phoenix, the last race of the year, on pit road. And I had a headset on, I had that little clipboard. I was like Chad Knaus. And and Darren Rude was the guy's name, and he owned a collagen company out in Tustin, California. And I met him through the Petty relationship, and we just kept tabs. He was keeping more tabs on me than I was of him. And he's like, man, what are you doing with a headset on? I'm like, just paying bills, man. Just trying to stay at the racetracks, trying to, keep building the network. And he's like, come over, see me and the wife, Patty, tomorrow. He had a big hospitality set up over there off turn 3 at the racetrack. So we raced that night. Then I went over there in the morning and hung out with him. And Darren was like, man, we've been watching you on social media. We love how you represent yourself. And, you're a Christian guy, aligns with our brand, our company, and you're in shape guy. It's, it's kind of what we're trying to push. And we want to help you get back behind the wheel of a race car. And, we want to, what's $500,000 going to do for you? I'm like, enough to get the ball back rolling. So if it wasn't for Darren and Patty Rude and that sponsorship to kind of get me back behind the wheel, I took that to an Xfinity team, kind of a middle tier Xfinity team, just to get some laps and get on some tracks I hadn't been to yet. And then that kind of got the ball rolling. I parlayed that into a couple more sponsors. And then I was a squeaky wheel enough with Ron Devine at BK Racing to put me in the car for just the Daytona 500 on the stipulation of if we didn't make the 500, we weren't going to race any more races. So we made the 500, and that was when we started rolling. That was 2016, 6 years ago, and we keep grinding, man. It ain't done yet.
So when all that got started and they scout you out, they see you with your headset on, did the hair have any bearing on landing that gig? Like they said, you're a good Christian guy, guy's fit. They're like,
look at that head of hair.
I feel like it had, dude. I mean,
yeah, no, I didn't have the hair back then. I just had short
shit. All right.
Yeah, the hair was post COVID.
Okay.
The hair was post COVID, but now it's like the brand, man. That's how people recognize me.
Yep.
It's like all
for sure.
Down, throwed out.
We got a sales guy.
So I got to
go
keep
head
it
to
now.
head.
I'm stuck with it.
We got a sales guy. Might have to go head to head with you. Josh claims you got a better head of hair on him. But
Corey's got a way better head.
Yeah, Phil Smunt's got a beautiful salad, but that's
it's
nothing.
No LaJoie.
Yeah,
I think we're just going to refer to it as LaJoie from now on.
Some guy tried to name it something this past week. Some fan at Darlington. He was like the LaJoie flow or the LaFlow or something like that. He tried to get creative. I'm like, nah, man, just call it what it is. Flow. Don't church it up.
Well, I am from Alabama. I, of course, being from the South, grew up a NASCAR fan. All my family, we watched it growing up. And then there was a time probably over the last, I'd say 6, 7, 8 years that just kind of wasn't for me, man. I grew away from it, and everything I think NASCAR was doing just wasn't enticing to me. And I haven't watched a race in a long time. But this year with the new car, I said, I'm going to watch the first race and see what's going on with this new car. And I know there's still all types of controversy about it. And if you like it or hate it, I have watched every single race this season, and I'm back a fan, man. I'm hooked. Like, I'm into it.
Let's go. Love that. Now, why is that?
I just think that it's more, I mean, we're into cars. Obviously that's what we do for a living. It's the new car is more what we know. The old car was just so old and so antiquated, everything about it. I know there was technology in it, but the suspension design specifically and the way the car was done was not, I mean, we were building stuff way more advanced than that, specifically with the IRS and the sequential, and the larger wheels and the center locks. Everything was just, I don't know. We could relate to it more for what we do for a living,
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I like the next gen car. I mean, it seems like it's favorable with the fan base, and anything new, no matter what it is, whether it's better or worse, is going to get some sort of reaction by the fan base. A lot of them are not going to like it because they don't like change. But I think it opens the doors for a lot of different things, especially with technology. There's still some trinkets teams are doing to these things, and they can add on to make them kind of their own. But I think parity's good, and now the devil's in the details more so than ever. Just a couple thousands here, a little bit lower CG there, 1 or 2 horsepower, a little bit of diffuser shim, trying to get some more downforce. Man, it's like if you were off on 2 or 3 areas of a couple tenths of right front camber or right rear toe, man, your day could be really long. So that's why I think for us as a smaller team, we we didn't start the year as good as we wanted to. We had some good runs here and there, but we were a little bit behind with understanding how small that window was to hit, and we didn't really have a lot of tire data and stuff to pull from, or really understanding on the best baseline setup to set them up as. So we're starting to hone it out now. We're getting a little more help from Chevy, starting to do some more simulator work, which is new to us, and we're going to start building our own database. And I think we had a lot of speed last week at Darlington, and I think we'll be pretty good here at Kansas as well. So
that simulator work.
It's a long grind, man.
I keep seeing everybody, online and, obviously I've been watching the new race for the championship. I watched the first episode. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I think that's going to do for NASCAR as a whole what the one on Netflix did for
Formula One
for F1. I think so.
I don't know if it's going to have quite the impact, because I feel like F1 in particular had a lot of fertile soil here in the United States. Being an international sport, right? It's just like people don't know how cool motorsports is one. And I also don't look at F1 as a competitor. And that's the peak of motorsports engineering. And I really put some, a lot of credit to those F1 guys. Tough job, a lot of pressure. And that is really, truly trying to get your ass to be in 100% in tune with that car and not leave an ounce of speed on the racetrack. So really appreciate that. But I don't know if that race for the championship show on USA is going to have
the thing they did though with the F1. The thing that, at least for me and everybody that I talked to, that it sold the characters and the personalities. Where before that was behind an iron curtain. You had no idea this was all, unless you were in the sport, you didn't know who those guys were. And the same goes for NASCAR as well. Unless you're in it, you don't know exactly the characters and the drivers. And it becomes one of those things where if you've never watched a race and you watch this documentary or docuseries, then you have to watch a race and you kind of start seeing, you visualize that guy in your head and what they are and the life that they're living and the family part of it and stuff like that. I think you're cutting it short. I think it's going to do better than you think.
It'll certainly be good. We were in the second episode, my family and I, and they followed Spire around. So I encourage you guys to watch it, because I thought it was pretty good. And there's a lot of great storylines this year. Even on, none of that was scripted, but man, you couldn't even script it a better season this year if you wanted to, with the off season, free agency stuff, Kyle Busch with 15, 16 different winners, and obviously not a good thing, but Kurt Busch getting hurt, Ty Gibbs filling in there. There's a ton of stuff that we didn't expect over the course of the year, and I think it's going to be wild again this playoffs, man. It's going to be a lot of shake up for sure.
I've been telling these guys about the new car and how much I like it, and the way that the racing has been going, and I'm sure they'll find a way to fuck it up down the line. But right now, it's really pretty cool. And the thing I like the most is I don't want to see y'all have to beat and bang on each other, but I like the fact that if it happens, the car's not done. You know what I'm saying? Especially on your super speedway stuff, the cars are more resilient. The cars definitely can take way more of a beating than before, But I'm also seeing stuff as of late where guys are saying they're getting hurt more in these cars. What's the difference there from the outside looking in? Obviously we're car guys.
From a safety standpoint.
Yeah, from a safety standpoint. Why do you think guys are getting a little bit more hurt, but the car is that much more resilient? Is it just transferring the shock through, or what?
So without getting too far in the weeds with it, the car is over 200% better in the areas of like T-bone crashes and upside down crashes with halo bar deformation. We have crash bumpers, so more or less the car doesn't have as much give to it. So with the previous car, you'd have the nose way out there, and then you'd have a couple pipes kind of just holding a couple roll bars just holding the bumper in place just for an aero advantage. Now every car is built, every bar in the car is built with a purpose. Also, the cars are about 250 pounds heavier this year than they were last year. Certainly, if it just has more kinetic energy when it hits the fence, but it's got a little bit less like initial crush. So a spike to your G load's pretty 8 to 12 milliseconds quicker than what it was previously. But in Kurt's case, it wasn't so much that one hit that did him in. It was the 7 or 8 consecutive ones over the course of 14 weeks that really did it. And the one at Pocono was just the one that broke the camel's back. So it's unfortunate, and it doesn't look very good for him in terms of recovery or getting back anytime soon. So we'll be thinking about him. But, there's also an element of danger with this stuff too. It's like you got to have your headrest up, dialed in. You got to have all your stuff as good as you can do it. And you also have to take care of your own body. You got to take fish oils. You got to train your neck. You've got to do all the stuff that, helps you be less prone to a concussion and keep your brain inflammation down, because, man, it can happen to anybody. And I want to be prepared. That's why I'm sitting here riding, 16 miles in the woods.
Oh, they were doing all that back in the 70s and 80s. They were doing that in the 70s and 80s too, right?
Yeah, they were drinking,
taking care of their
beer,
body,
smoking cigarettes,
eating fish oil, drinking fish oils. Yeah, I'm sure 79. NASCAR, they were big on health.
Where were we?
I think they were. Yeah, big elk guys for sure. Yeah, Marlboros and Budweiser. Man. That was their concussion prevention.
Where were we on the road tour? We went toward that.
We went to Roush Fenway.
Yeah, Roush Fenway. Yeah, so they walked us through there, and man, seeing like just the gym, the workout facility, and listening to I don't have to tell you, you do it, but it blew my mind that it's that physical, like the amount of training that goes into that. But I know I've been in, fast cars, been on a track, been on a motorcycle, and it's I don't think people give guys in motorsports enough credit for the physical aspect of it,
Especially on some of those long races. Hell, y'all had a 500 mile one last week, right?
Southern 500, man, went 4 hours and 10 minutes.
Shit.
It was a long.
Yeah,
long
it was. That one's brutal. That one's long. Well, there's the Coke 600 too at Charlotte, but the Southern 500, because lap time's a little bit slower there. That's the longest one. And Darlington, you don't have a break, and you have to be locked in. You're running this close to the wall for every other corner for 367 laps. It takes every ounce of concentration you have.
So what's more draining on that, the physical aspect of it or the mental aspect? If you're focusing to stay off that wall for all those laps.
So there's tracks where, Daytona, Talladega, there's really no physical exertion. Your heart rate gets up because you're just waiting to hit something really hard, really fast. But that's a mental exhaustion for sure. You're trying to play chess. You're trying to gauge how fast guys are, which cars are pulling the lines well, which manufacturers are working together at what time. So you're always watching. You're always trying to plan for 10 laps, from where you're at currently. So Daytona, Talladega, now Atlanta is also like a mental fatigue race. But you go like a Martinsville, you go to a Darlington, you go to a Bristol where there's a lot of vertical G load and you're really hauling ass. Those are more of like the elbows up, and you're pretty wore out after those for sure.
Was the big wreck at Daytona 500 one of the scariest moments for you personally?
It happened so fast. I didn't have time to get scared. I just smashed into Ryan Newman when he was upside down. But it's if you do this stuff for a long time, man, it's inevitable you're going to get some big ass crashes, and I've had my fair share, unfortunately.
Looking back about all those years, we joked about guys in the 70s and 80s, and how much different they did things. But NASCAR as a whole, and then the race teams as well. What's some things that stick out that nobody would have ever believed? Say you go back in time and you tell your dad, like, hey, this is the shit we're doing with these cars now, and what's going into it.
Every week I tell him something. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And that was only that was 96, 7, 8 when he was, 2000. So, anything technical on the car right now is different than what we even did last year. This new car is so much different, so much more precise. But the stuff they were doing there with coil bind rear springs and pigtail front springs and bump stops and using the front sway bar as a torsion bar, it got crazy. And I kind of applaud NASCAR for going the direction of the next gen car because the amount their teams are spending in R&D just didn't justify the cost on the backside. So, yeah, one thing I'd probably tell the guys in the past, and they wouldn't probably just, I think the way that drivers race each other is probably the biggest way. Like, there's no give and take at the beginning of the race. It's just, if there's a spot, man, you take it and you try to hold on to it because it's so hard to pass. It wasn't 8-10 years ago. Like, you wouldn't race anybody until, the last run of the race. You just get there and log laps and wave at each other and, see y'all at the bus lot type thing. Now people can give two shits. Like, nobody's hanging out with each other. Nobody's wives are very chummy. It's just like you get in there and get yours and go home.
Is the horsepower that even now with this new car?
So I heard somebody at NASCAR say that because they're always talking about doing like a development freeze, right? So like whatever push rods, whatever rocker arms, whatever valve spring combination, crankshaft combination you have right now, it's locked in for the next 3 years, right? Or something like that. Just to save teams money in terms of not having to cover the overhead of development. So I heard somebody at NASCAR say if you would saran wrap all the motors up right now, you couldn't get the motors to have more parity. So, there's some engines probably have a little more bottom end torque. Some OEMs probably have a little bit more top end speed that might favor better over a speedway versus a short track, something like that. But I think that they've got them pretty close right now.
Is the new car and everything being completely different open up a lot of room for interpretation on the rules and areas you can find?
I mean,
they probably get it locked down.
They've hammered a couple people that've been, towing the gray area more so than they ever have this year. So I like it. I mean, that was the whole premise, man. It's like, we're going to build this car. We're going to get vendor parts. If you fuck with it, like, we are going to smack your hand. And they've fined people, 3-digit points and over $100,000 just for messing with different parts. It might not even been a competitive advantage. So
was it Hamlin's win they pulled for the packing tape under the wrap? Was it Hamlin?
I mean, I heard there was more than that, but
okay.
I will say this: they didn't do it because it was worse. It's not like they forgot to pull the tag off their jeans before they wore them out to Carrabba's that night. Like, it was on there for a reason.
Yeah.
Shit. So when you're on the track, are there like, and you don't have to name names, but are there like some notorious just like asshole drivers where you're like, oh fuck,
yeah,
here's this motherfucker?
Everybody. Everybody. No, it's like, that's just what it is, man. And I'm sure people say the same about me. Like, there's no gentleman's agreement right now. I mean, it is, you have to go get every spot at any given time. Like, and there might be a couple guys you'll cut a break to, and you kind of have like, that like, all right, I'll get you back, and we won't hold each other up just in the context of the race. But when the pay window's open, man, like, everybody's a dickhead, which I appreciate. I mean, hey,
cutthroat.
At least right.
So what's the move? Yeah. Like, if everybody's out there and you're hammering on, everybody's going for the win. What's the jab, or like somebody's just to fuck with somebody? Somebody does something stupid. What's the like insider trick? That's it. You just go like that.
Like whenever you pass them, like if like somebody was really a dickhead to you and like held you up a couple laps and like he was just on your door or mirror driving you and blocking your air, and you get around him, you just give him one of those. Like that's so like demoralizing. It's just like, thanks, no, like that, like that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
like that,
right.
It's like
I appreciate.
Like, thanks.
Just a subtle gesture, but it carries a lot of weight, I guess.
It's kind of like the old
finger
out the window when you'd win a drag race.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's like some guys will give you that one, but like when somebody gives me, like, when I'm really racing somebody and like you're like, and they get you and you're like, damn it, and then they give you one of those and you're like, fuck. Okay, I see. I got you.
Insult to injury.
I like that.
Well, I know you were sick of talking about this one in particular, and the the Quaker State 400.
Teed it up nicely.
So
let's talk about it again.
Well, what I wanted to ask was, this much time has passed since then. I was jumping up and down. I mean, I was rooting for you. I was like, holy hell, this is going to be awesome. I love to see anybody get their first win. It's just it's a great atmosphere that you can kind of share in with them. But after that much time's gone, and you've, I'm sure, relived it in your head. Did you learn anything? And at the end of the day, I don't think you could have done anything different. But I would like to know if did you learn anything when you're in that position again?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I learned there that I applied at Daytona a couple weeks ago there. I thought we were playing that race pretty good as well. I got caught up in a wreck there, running 6th or 7th, but I thought we had a really good car to compete for a win. But, I've been saying about that race, it's like, there's nothing I would do different, but I would do it different next time, if that makes sense. Like, with the way the context was, I was getting pushed by the 43, and he had me kind of sideways, so I wasn't able to put the wheel to it to get to his left rear quarter, which was the move. But he kind of pushed me to the outside of him, and then he was able to block it. Just didn't work out.
You need to go back and watch that one. It was pretty intense. So, shifting a little bit away from the NASCAR specifically, but the podcast deal, how'd that start? And we're interested in that more, just because
we stumbled into this one.
Yeah, because we're really bad at this one too. So we're gonna try to pick up some pointers.
Yeah, don't take any pointers from me. They have to edit a lot of the stuff I say on that podcast out for post. But I started doing it on MRN, which was Motor Racing Network, and it was called Sunday Money, and it was just a couple buddies of mine just BS and talking about social media and talking about current events and really talking about racing a little bit. And then and that kind of allowed me to test the waters and figure out what the hot topics were not to talk about, just to kind of navigate the game a bit. And then NASCAR bought MRN when they brought everything in privately, and they bought ISC out. They looked at the numbers. They were trying to build their digital content platform, and they're like, man, this show's got some pretty good numbers here. Like, would you be interested in doing another show, doing your own show? I'm like, sure. So then I got my buddy of mine, Ryan Flores, who changes front tires for Ryan Blaney. Him and I are best buds. We kind of see racing the same way. And then we got Chuck Bush and Jonathan Merriman, both who work for NASCAR. So they kind of see it as like the company man, viewpoint. But Ryan and I can kind of call for what it is. And we have some pretty good candid conversations. Then the plus part, even more about it, is that since NASCAR owns it, man, they can get all the good guests. They can get previous winners. They can get Hall of Famers. So it's not me doing the asking to get the guests. It's NASCAR brass, texting Chase Elliott to have him jump on the podcast, or, Mike Kelton or Kyle Petty or Mark Martin, or, all the people that have been gracious enough to jump on the podcast. It's really gaining some good traction. The fans love it. So I'm going to keep on showing up and doing it. And I'm starting to have some fun with it and starting to figure it out.
You said when it started, it was called Sunday Money. That didn't have anything to do with Earnhardt's boat, did it?
Oh, of course it did. I mean, everybody dreams. Everybody dreams of spending a night on. Yeah, everybody dreams of spending a night on Sunday Money.
Yeah, that's what it's called, Sunday Money.
I like that.
You should look up some old pictures of him on that boat too. And he had his beer shorts on. He'd wear these swimming shorts that had these 2 pockets in them, with a beer in each pocket.
And you guys are asking me all these racing questions. I'm trying to ask y'all some whiskey questions. What are the go-tos?
And we're I think anything in the Weller collection, if you can get your hands on it. Weller 12, bang for the buck, man. That's right there at the top.
Really love that.
That old elk stuff. We've been talking about that.
I've been on an Angels Envy rye kick in rum cast. That's what I've been tipping on lately.
Yeah, the rye's loaded up with flavor, and then when you soak them in a rum barrel,
doubles down.
Yeah,
I haven't tried that particular one. Need to get on that.
Yeah, they're good. We got a bunch of Angel Ends. I just picked something.
What's your favorite flavor of oil? You ever sip on any of those?
Man, if we did, I don't remember because I was probably drinking a shit ton of whiskey before I got to that
It's usually
level.
just
Yeah.
a fingertip.
I mean, I've accidentally tasted plenty, you know.
You're always something on the ground to see what's leaking.
I'm not going I'm not going anywhere
fluid.
near fucking gear lube. That's for sure, man. Fuck gear lube.
No, or brake fluid.
What's funny is every time you taste it, you always say it's antifreeze, and no matter what it
Yeah.
is, that's antifreeze. Sure. What do you do?
Antifreeze is kind of sweet.
Yeah,
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Sweetness.
Good mixer.
Yeah, you get like if you get like if you get something that's been running pretty rich, you know, or something pushing past the rings, and you got some oils, some gas soaked oil, you know.
Yeah.
What do you do in the spare time besides riding your mountain bike and stay healthy? Are you into cars, or what's your hobbies?
Yeah, I love cars, man. I love. I'm building a 1970 Barracuda at the moment with the Hellcat, so I've got it
Sweet.
all in there. Trying to figure out how to connect the dots. Put an aftermarket drop all the K-frame out of it, rear end stuff out of it. I got put a triangulated 4-link 315s in the back. They're about that wide.
Nice.
Those E-body, I didn't have to tub it out. The E-bodies have a pretty big wheel well up in there, so I put some pretty cool wheels on it. Coil over front and rear. So I've been tinkering with that for about a year, a little bit over a year. That should hopefully get done by the end of the year. And I love just building stuff, man. Whether it's cars, I got one of those drift trikes that was a big craze a couple years ago. I built one of those that rips it pretty good. But beyond that, just hanging out with my kids, man. So I got my 2-year-old's a lot of fun right now, and helping out the wife with the 3-month-old because racing takes up. I'm gone 3 days out of the week, maybe 4 days out of the week. So I got to try to I don't get to go. I might peel off an afternoon a week to ride a mountain bike or, work out 5 to 6 in the morning while everybody else is sleeping. But beyond that, I try to do my work at the shop, get that done, get simulator prep done, and then try to spend as much time at home as I can.
Nice. Does the 2-year-old know that old enough now that knows that daddy's a race car driver? Is that registered? That's got to be cool. I always thought like being a hot rod builder, my kid's a gearhead, and I always thought that was like pretty damn cool, right? But that's the next level, like race car driver over hot rod builder. Yeah,
Prime song.
Astronaut would be the top.
I got hit with some nostalgia this past week. I was sitting there at the Cup shop, and a lot of memories I had growing up was just going to the shop with Dad and seeing how he mingled with his guys and talk a little shit and pick on them and encourage them and all those types of things. And there was a diecast car of my dad's in the shop for some reason in my Cup shop, and of course my son found it. It was in a box, so he yanks it out of the box, and he was sitting there pushing that little diecast car of my dad's in my shop. All my cars are around. And it was just like a blast from the past. Like, oh man, that's pretty cool that, I was the 2-year-old, walking around with my dad in his shop. Now it's pretty cool to share that experience with him. And, he definitely knows which car is mine. And, he's excited to go to the racetrack and all that. So it's starting to get pretty fun.
That's awesome, man. I think you'll realize as he starts getting a little older that all your fans that you have out there is nothing cooler than your son being your fan. When you have your kids that are your fans, that's it's like we've got some cars and stuff that we've built that pop up in video games, and like I'll get like a text or a phone call. My son's he's 11 now, so he's old enough that he'll text, and that's just so cool. All the awards, everything, like, man, that's the best.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about, man. It's pretty cool now, but he can tell you what he wants, and he can kind of make broken sentences, but when he starts being 7, 8, 9, if I'm still able to be doing this thing, I'm sure we'll be having a lot of fun with him coming to the track.
Hell yeah.
You got him in a Power Wheels yet?
And he rips on a bike. He's got one of them Strider bikes he kicks on, and he's not scared to send it off a big ramp or something. And he just started doing a pedal bike. But if it comes to like motorized or electric stuff, he doesn't like he only needs self-propelled vehicles at the moment. He doesn't like something when it starts taking off yet. So
Sure.
we'll see if
You'll
he
get
gets
there.
settled into that.
Talk about the simulators just a little bit. I've been wanting to ask if it's because you see it more and more, especially as of late. It's part of the repetition. I mean, you got to get your reps in. All these drivers are really leaning on these simulators. Is it that good of a simulation? I mean, is it that close?
It could be if you put the work in, but I think every team has their own data set of what they validate tires, how much stock they put into it, and what areas they want to work on. For example, we went to Watkins Glen was the first weekend we went to the simulator, and with the way our practice schedule is now, whatever 4 shocks and springs you show up to the racetrack with, you're married to all weekend. You can't change the spring rate. You can't change. You can change some shock adjustments, but you can change sway bar, you can switch like the sway bar arms or like blades, so you can full stiff, full soft, right? But whatever 4 springs you show up to the racetrack with is what you're married to. So we worked for probably 4 or 5 hours in the simulator just to figure out what the right spring combination there was, how stiff you can be, whether you want to go real soft, you want to go 400s in the back to try to get forward drive, whether you want to go 800s, 900s in the back to try to keep the platform flat and keep it switching directions crisp. But so you can put a lot of stock into pitch and roll and how much feedback the simulators give you, and actually it'll relate to speed pretty well too. So we found legitimately half a second on the simulator in just keeping the pitch right of the car and figuring out if we wanted to sacrifice mechanical grip for aero platform. And then we go to Darlington last week and we spent 4 or 5 hours on that again, and I think we legitimately found 2.5 to 3 tenths from what we unloaded with, and just tweaking on sway bar timing and shock settings. And you've got to be smart enough as an engineer and as a driver not go too far down the rabbit hole and chasing something that's not going to translate. But 2.5 tenths at Darlington, man, is the difference between. We ran in the top 15 all day versus running 28th, 30th, and we ran 32nd 4 or 5 laps down in the spring. So it was just 4 hours in a simulator made that big of a difference for us.
Damn.
And then we go back the following week. Like we went back this week and we went and we essentially validated the tire model. So we wanted to raise and lower track grip to make the lap times comparable to what they were in the race, and get the tire balance or the tire models to drive what my feedback, like we'll put our setup in and then we'll tailor the model to what my feedback during the race was. And then we just try to build our own data set.
That's cool.
I didn't realize it would be, you could pick up that or it would translate to real. That's crazy. What's your favorite track of the year? Your favorite race of the year?
Man, I tell you, Kansas used to be my least favorite track, but it's starting to get worn out, and you can rip the fence pretty well. I've had some good cars here, so Kansas is definitely made a big shift in my ranking. But I love going to Bristol. It's got a special place in my heart. I love going to Darlington, Martinsville, Daytona special too. So there's my handful that I have circled that I always look forward to going to.
NASCAR's coming to Chicago. Was it next year or the year after?
Yeah, street course, July 4th weekend, man. It'd be wild. Where are you guys out of?
North of Chicago.
Yeah, nowhere near the city. Man, you guys are gonna have to bulletproof those cars. There's gonna be ballistic glass in them.
No doubt.
I'm excited.
I'd love to have y'all out that weekend.
Dude, we'd love to, man.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be great.
There you go. You're invited. Put
Thanks,
it on the calendar.
Man. Yeah, that's recorded. That is.
Yeah, you can't back out.
That's forever.
No,
So, yeah.
No, I'd love to. Hey, I'd love to have y'all out.
Oh, thanks, dude. We'd love to.
It's gonna be like come over and swim anytime you want.
Next week. Yeah,
we're here to swim. We've got our towels and.
Who?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I didn't mean today. I meant like.
Yeah, it was being nice. I really didn't feel like you showing up.
Where's it running in Chicago? Is it like Lakeshore Drive down.
I think it's part of Lakeshore. Yeah, and I mean they're doing
They-
a whole Grand Prix
They can like
race.
fix the fucking streets and everything out there.
I would assume so.
Dude,
I mean they got a
I
race
mean,
on it, but they're building a whole pavilion and everything. It's a big
Really?
fucking deal. Yeah.
that's gonna be
I don't know. I'm showing up.
That'd be awesome. Says here your NASCAR profile says that your favorite movie is Days of Thunder. So we get a lot of
I mean,
favorite movie
isn't that
questions.
that's a big cliche. I don't know who wrote that.
Okay.
I mean, it's true. It's true, but I feel like I could put Remember the Titans or something a little less stereotypical on there.
Well-
But yes, Days of Thunder is a classic.
So Days of Thunder versus Talladega Nights. What do you watch?
Hey, obviously, that's like whether you want to drink, whiskey or tequila. So it's whatever you're feeling. Sometimes you want to get a little crazy and black out drunk and forget what you're doing, and sometimes you want to sip whiskey with the boys. And if I want to sip whiskey with the boys, I'm watching Days of Thunder. If I want to get a little wild and have some laughs, I'll drink tequila.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's a good one. I gotta watch it again. It's been years.
Dude, I fucking love Talladega
I
Nights.
watched Days
Bro,
of Thunder
so,
more than
hey,
I watched Talladega Nights.
When I think it came out, I was like 14 or 15. I'm trying to do the grind and make it as a Cup Series driver, and I thought that all those guys were rock stars. And I thought, it's just like red carpets and rock stars and models and the whole deal. And it came out, I saw it in theaters, and I'm like, these sons of bitches. Like, they think that we're a bunch of morons. And then now, hey, anytime that thing comes on TV, I'm like, hey, honey, come on, let's get on the couch and watch Talladega Nights. I think it is hilarious.
Dude, the little kid Walker and Texas Ranger. The little kids.
Yeah.
Oh man, it kills me.
What this is your chance to do a plug. What would you like to tell your audience or fan base about?
You gotta have some sponsors. Come on, the sponsor plug. Bam.
Well, I mean, I don't want to do the whole sponsor plug, but
I
I've
sure
got a lot
do
of
love
great
Fig
ones.
Newtons.
Mark Slater. I sure do love Fig Newtons. It is convenient. But I think that watch the show this weekend, Race for the Championship. It gives you a good insight on the challenges of being a small team in Aspire. I encourage people to go listen to the podcast. We have a lot of fun on there. And it gives it kind of a peek into just life on the road a bit and what it's like. And we have some great guests. It's cool that you've got this type of platform, kind of long-winded conversations to where you can really get somebody's personality come out and really, gravitate to it. And you can pick your favorite guys because there's, tape on pretty much everybody out there. If you want to go do some research on somebody, you can see how they are and who they, what they're into. So, social media is great. Podcasts are good, and you guys got a good one. So
Thanks,
I
man.
encourage y'all keep it up.
Appreciate it, dude.
Appreciate it. We're one of these days we'll figure out how to do it.
Yeah, we'll just keep
Well,
drinking.
you
Keep
got
drinking.
you got an awesome studio set up.
Appreciate it. It works. It's,
Is that in y'all's hot rod shop or what is it?
yep.
Yeah, it's upstairs in our showroom.
Was our conference room.
Yeah.
We didn't have that many conferences, so we decided to do a makeover.
We're only 40
Yes.
we're only 40 minutes from the city. So when you come up, if you're gonna have some time, you need to come up and check the shop out for the race.
There you
And
go.
then we'll go down and watch you race.
Yeah, yeah. If you got time, jump in some hot rods, man. We got a lot of cool pro touring muscle cars like that. You could stare at them,
Or,
pick up some ideas for the
or I,
CUDA.
I could maybe the CUDA will be done by then, and I'll throw it up in the hall or drive it up there.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
that'd be
sure.
cool.
Dude. Yeah, we're sitting right beneath us right now is a 70 CUDA twin turbo Hemi, 6-speed on
Oh.
a chassis. Dude, it's wicked.
Let's go. Hell yeah. We'll
Uh,
race.
Well, now we get to some of the standard questions that we ask every single guest.
And then we'll let you bomb down that hill
Yeah,
on your
let
on your
let you
mountain
get
bike.
after it.
Yeah, now I'm nice and cold. I'm gonna fucking hit a rock and go endo here.
Shit, that's gonna fall on us.
Yeah. You're gonna get some lawsuits in the mail here in just a couple weeks. Just don't worry.
Just don't use the front brake going downhill. You'll be all right.
No. There's been there's a lot of rocky terrain here. There's been some pretty gnarly drops, but it's been upright so far, so knock on wood here.
Hell yeah.
What is first up is what was your first car and a story about that car?
Oh, yes, a 2001 Pontiac Bonneville supercharged. Had a TV in the roof, Mario Kart. Easiest way to get girls, man. Every chick thinks they're good at Mario Kart, so you sandbag the first one, you make some wagers on the second, third races, and it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Oh man, dude,
Yeah.
that's some of the
That's
best
awesome.
advice I've heard in a
Yeah, it's
long time.
really
We asked the question about advice,
Yeah.
on this show. That's
That's
it. dude.
that's advice,
That
bro.
is it. Yes.
What's
Wave Runner, and Mario Kart were the two cassettes you jam down in that thing.
he said Wave Runner. All I could think of was the supercharged Bonneville pulling a Wave Runner. I just think Kenny Powers is all I was thinking about.
Hell yeah.
Next up, if you weren't a NASCAR driver, what would you have done?
I didn't really have a whole lot of backup plans. I mean, I went down the path of being a crew chief just to pay bills. And, everything I've done, I've kind of been all in on. So I'd have probably been a crew chief and probably been on the box of Cup Series car, Cup Series team in some form or fashion. I love leading people. I love trying to get the most out of them. I don't think the way the teams and engineering set up now, I don't think you need necessarily an engineering degree to be the guy. I think you hire some really smart engineer that went somewhere and to be your lead engineer, and then you just kind of lead the people and try to get the most out of them. So I probably could have done that. I couldn't go back and do it now because I've missed out a lot of learning opportunities, but that's probably what I would have done if the driver stuff wouldn't have got kicked back off 7-8 years ago.
Sweet.
Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Man, I've gotten a lot of great advice, but something that's been sticking in my head recently, and I even forgot. I think I just heard it like in passing, was nothing's ever as good as it seems or as bad as it seems. And that's so true because you do TV and you think you suck and it's never as bad as it seems, or you had this big moment, people are celebrating, patting you on the back. It's never as good as it seems. It's always just life, man. It just keeps on rolling, good, bad, or indifferent.
You keep yourself in the middle.
Yeah.
And last but not least, everybody's favorite. This will be interesting since you're out on your ride. But what's in your pocket right now? It's time to do a pocket dump.
Nothing.
Not a thing.
Yeah, I'm bare. Now, usually it's a penny or two because people just make it a point now to give me pennies because that's kind of my deal, Stacking Pennies podcast and all that. So normally I have some sort of penny in my pocket. My wallet, usually a Sharpie as well. At the racetrack, try to keep a black Sharpie or a gold Sharpie just so you don't have to keep passing Sharpies back and forth, COVID. And, obviously my cell phone. Don't go anywhere without that.
Sweet, man. Well, Corey, it's been awesome.
It's been fun.
Glad you could come on, and hope we can stay in touch. Anything you ever need on that car, if you're up this way, come check us out, and we're gonna take you up on that Chicago race next year for sure.
For sure.
Hey, I would love to have you guys for sure. Get that on the book. Make sure you reach out to Stallings or whoever.
Yep.
To line that up, and I'd love to come check y'all's shop out too. The same way.
Love to have you.
Sounds
dude.
good, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, dude.
Have a good
Cool,
ride.
guys. Thanks for having me on.
Good luck this weekend.
Give him hell.
Man. Y'all have a good weekend.
You too.
Remember, you can learn more about Corey by checking out his website at CoreyLaJoieRacing.com. Check out Stacking Pennies wherever you get your podcasts. It's time for the Glove Box, where we tell you about some of the cool new gear, guns, EDC shit, whiskey, and other stuff we're into. All right, guys, what do we have this week?
Start it off, Josh. We usually come this way, and Phil's got the same knife.
No, I brought a different one.
Oh, he's got something different.
But I forgot to look up and see what the name was, so I got to do.
And then you've got some sort of like assault rifle or
No,
one of those
today's
things
very
with those
simple.
high capacity magazines.
Clipazines.
Clipazines with a clip in it.
2 million bullets per second.
Today is, I'm still rocking this Launch 11 Kershaw, and I'll tell you, I really like it.
You've had a chance to hit some corners in that thing now, huh?
Yep. Yeah,
You're digging it?
it's a good size. It's got good action. I like the blade. It's light. It seems like it's holding up to some fairly decent abuse for the price point. I mean, it's a damn good knife. There's nothing really bad
Yeah.
I can say about it.
Yeah, it's funny you busted this out when we were sitting there talking to Kyle yesterday, and he wanted to
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
shit on it, I guess
Mhm.
I'd say, but as soon as you put that in his hands, he's like, "Holy shit, man, that is They are surprising.
Yeah.
I love this new line of Kershaws. I got burnt out on the whole onion thing. You know, I had the Ken onion, I had the mini chive way back in the day.
This
like
is
your
the whole
first knife.
launch.
Yeah,
first
it's
cool
like the
knife.
my first knife.
Yeah.
But these, that's good. It's got just a little bit of that Tonto kind of shape going on
Yep.
it.
Check out
good
the launch
blade.
series from Kershaw on Blade HQ. And the only other thing I have is I've got a cool new shirt. I've got a cool new shirt from Vinny's Hot Rods.
And it has an eagle on it.
Yep. It's got an eagle on it.
What kind of sound do you think that
so
eagle
you
makes?
know it's fucking badass.
Oh, the same sound that all eagles make. Just like that.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, Phil knew it was.
Yeah, and he's my buddy. He gave me a shirt, and so I wore it, and that's the thing for my glove box. See, this is the back of it. It's got a back.
Vin-
too.
Oh, look at that.
Vinny built some badass stuff, man.
Vinny does.
And an awesome dude. Awesome dude to hang out with, man. Vinny cracks me up. Vinny still to this day has probably my funniest story that I've ever heard. Can we tell
the
that?
best line ever. Yeah.
I'm sure we can tell it. If he's listening right now, he knows
Yeah.
exactly what.
Yeah, it's so good.
So, Vinny and I have been buddies for a long time. We were traveling somewhere. We stopped at a truck. This was years and years ago. Stopped at a truck stop. Walked in. Like, oh shit! Look, they've got Mexican blankets. You know, and this was way back when it was kind of like it was rare to see. You know, so it's like, oh, they got Mexican blankets. So he looks at me. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, look, they got Mexican blankets there. You know, maybe we're building hot rods. We're doing stuff like that. He's like,
Put that on like
Good
the seat.
interior, right?
He's like, yeah. He's like, they're just blankets. And so Vinny is Mexican. So to him, they're just regular
Yeah,
blankets.
it was just like so
He's
simple.
like-
So I just thought it's hilarious.
Like, we're not going to go down and get an American cheeseburger, are we? It's just a
Fucking
fucking cheeseburger. There's blankets.
Good stuff.
Something we bring up all the time. Now, next up, what do you have, Jeremy?
No, Josh. I mentioned earlier that I've transitioned into the going out blades. So I got something pretty special here tonight, boys. Check this sucker out. That's a piece of jewelry right there. So that is a William Henry. That
Oh.
is,
Kind of a big deal.
yeah, Damascus. It's got like a sweet little ruby for the safety release and something that's kind of a showpiece. Not something you generally would carry.
Wow.
You're certainly not cutting any boxes with that sucker.
Zip ties.
Definitely not cutting zip ties, but just something kind of cool to look at and appreciate the craftsmanship. That's probably my fanciest.
Is it sturdy?
Yeah, chuck it at the wall.
It'd stick when
Yeah,
you throw
probably my
it.
fanciest blade. It's my second favorite knife because number one in my collection is the knife that you guys built for me and Phil, which we reviewed, which is fucking awesome. But this is it's some jewelry, man.
I didn't know you had that.
Oh yeah, I've had it for a long time.
Yeah, you've been keeping this one a sleeper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just it feels cool. Everything's like sharp, very detailed, super cool, like tight tolerances.
Jonathan Ward had a William Henry too.
He did.
When he was on there.
Yeah. Which I've also got, my daily carry.
You doing dual knives?
No, in the other pocket that's a William Henry Damascus money clip too.
Damascus.
And it's got the same kind of deal that he plants that little kind of ruby deal in there.
Layer of detail.
So, yeah, it's like a layered detail. And what else we got? Just the keys, the old dad wallet. The dad wallet is growing, man. Sucker just keeps growing. Top view on that guy.
You need a wide angle
Yeah,
camera.
look
I
at that.
think you stuffed that
Yeah.
prior to coming
No,
on here.
dude,
That's
that is
fake.
no.
Yeah.
This thing just keeps on
It's a
growing.
bunch of those fake credit cards that come in the
Yeah.
wallets when you buy them.
So,
It dropped like 2 inches. Went right
yeah,
over.
Dude, you've got to get off that.
I know.
I'm telling you, I sit.
I know it. So, yeah, That's what I got, man. Pretty proud of that knife. I like that one.
It's a great knife. Damn, that thing's sexy.
Trust you with that.
What do you have, Phil?
I brought out a old school. This is the first automatic knife that I got. Benchmade CLA.
Got some yank to it.
It has some yank to it. This is one like before anybody had automatic knives here, and everyone I gave it to who wanted to try it would thing, and then it would just take off and be banging off of everything, bouncing around the ground. But yeah, you got to hold on. It's almost a two-hand operation.
Maybe for a boy like you, but
yeah. I just like it. It's got this little lock. So this is my fidget spinner all day long.
You like the lock, huh?
I just fuck with it. I don't actually.
I got you.
I'm not worried about going off.
One of the ones I had the other day that had a lock on it, and it was always the wrong way.
Yeah, it always is. But it's careful.
I don't think it can get away. It's just, it bangs, but I don't think it'll get away from you.
You don't think?
No.
There's been like 5 or 6 people who have launched that across
that's a good
the shop
blade.
floor.
You've had this. It looks pretty. The blade's pretty fresh. You obviously haven't abused it.
I carried that probably for a solid year and a half, and then it's been sitting
But
in
it's
my
got
desk drawer.
Yeah, when they're like that phenolic material, they just last.
They don't wear. Yeah.
Good blade.
But yeah, a little on the big side.
Oh, that's a good size. Yeah. That's the perfect
for
size.
Yeah, that's for fighting.
Yeah.
You know?
That's
combat knife.
Anything smaller than that, grizzly bear is going to kick your ass. This is the perfect size for.
Yeah. Luckily, I haven't come across too many grizzlies yet.
Dude, I kept
You
thinking.
never know, though.
Next time you do, and you don't have this knife.
I'm sorry. As the whole time we were doing that podcast, all I could think is like a fucking mountain lion coming up
mauling
from behind them and just like, clawing. It just looked like the perfect setting. Not that I wish bad things.
No,
but it would have been cool.
It would have been. Corey LaJoie gets attacked
on the Oil and Whiskey podcast
by a mountain
by
lion.
a saber, like a saber-toothed tiger.
I think they're
are they dead? They're extinct. Yeah. Right, by a mountain lion.
An owl.
An owl.
And we're done.
Yeah.
Owl. And that was it. What else you have?
That's it.
Well,
standard wallet, cell phone.
Well, what are we drinking? You know what?
Bourbon whiskey.
You know what?
What, Josh?
While you're doing,
what are you gonna do?
Oh, you got to be here for this. You can't just peace out.
I was gonna get some Stillhouse and do some shots.
Not a bad idea. I think the Stillhouse would put a hurting on this like distinguished Knob Creek 12. I can tell you that.
Good.
Sure, that's a fact.
Yep.
So yeah, Knob Creek 12. I think you first discovered this. You would let me know that the 12-year release, so you let her rip.
Yeah, I saw it on I think Breaking Bourbon, and it had some good reviews. And then for something to do on a Saturday, Sunday, went out doing a little bit of bourbon hunting, and a couple places had just sold out of it. And then I finally found a bottle, and I think we touched on it earlier. Cracked it, tried it, and yeah, it wasn't all that great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing bad about it. It just for a 12-year and something that you chased, it just doesn't hit.
Yeah,
like
Thrill
it
the
should.
Hunt was better than the Kill.
Yeah. So if you find, seek it out. Like I said, Thrill the Hunt. It's rare. Find it. Put it in the click. Welcome back.
Yeah, sorry.
No, we're not. Yeah,
Everybody stop. Josh is here.
Yeah, we weren't talking over here, but
got better the second time. I don't know. Adjusted palate tastes a little bit better now, but I'm gonna go good, not great.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. 100 proof.
It's 100 proof.
Yeah, 100 proof. A little bit of a burn, a little bit of a throat burn. Don't get a mouth burn, but it kicks you in the chest a little bit.
100 proof, real big.
I put
right
that
on the bottle
right dead in the middle as just a fine.
Yeah, I'll tell you
drinking.
What. Here's what I would do. I would keep that on hand, and I would make an impressive old fashioned with it.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
because it's good. It's a step up, like from just like a well bourbon, something that's just.
I usually do old fashions at bars with Knob Creek. It's got a little different flavor to it, so you can taste it more in the drink.
So that
could be perfect.
Yeah,
Knob
we just
Creek
figured it out.
12
That's it, man. That is your ultimate old fashioned bourbon right there.
I like that.
And it's got enough proof that it'll make the cocktail
a
Yeah, a
Why don't
little
you pour us just a
alcohol
little,
forward.
and what are we going to rank this Stillhouse? I mean, the Knob Creek 12.
I'm gonna go a 6-0.
You really did not like it.
Are we pouring this
It's a
to? Are we
combination of
shooting
my
this, or is
first
this?
taste and
Are we
last
sipping
taste.
this?
Oh, we can sip on it.
Alright.
We can do whatever you want to. Knob Creek 12 year.
6-0, huh?
Phil,
Is that low?
6.
I don't know. I don't
Extremely
see.
low.
The problem I have is that I don't
It's
remember.
not that low.
I don't really remember what I did 30 minutes ago, let alone what we rated.
Josh can write that down for you and follow you around, let you know what you
There.
did. Get the bourbon, Rick.
Yeah, snag it. I mean, I think this would be a prime opportunity, though, before we all rate this. We'll have just a little bit less left in our glass. Take a sip. This is about $100 bottle of whiskey, isn't it? If you find it.
No, it's like 69.
Yeah, was it 60,
That's what I said.
70?
Yeah, so it's just exactly what I said.
Around.
Yeah.
if
Right
you round
around,
it
so
up,
$70
yeah.
bucks.
Yeah, 60, 70 bucks.
And then there's tax, and then the
Okay.
transportation. With
problem.
gas prices nowadays.
Yeah.
Do it as much.
Okay,
yeah.
so $70.
Right. Jeremy was right on it.
Okay.
It's going to cost what he said.
Take a sip of that. Take a sip of that Knob Creek 12. That's an aged 12-year bourbon. Roll it around the mouth. Feel it.
The one thing I'll tell you,
Now
it doesn't taste like 12 year.
grab that Stillhouse Black Bourbon, which you poured for us in these cool little mini
You're
solo
drinking
cups.
it wrong. It's got a handle on it.
Pretty sure that's to hang on the outside of your glass. At least that's what I think it's for. Stillhouse is way smoother.
Significantly smoother.
Yeah.
If you placed the two of those in front of me and told me, what do you want to drink all night? I'm drinking the Stillhouse Black.
That's huge.
Easy decision.
What's your number? For the,
Let me think. Let me look at
Knob
what.
Creek?
Let me
In
look
that-
at what we had, because
in
I'm going to
that
try to
range.
compare that.
You got a Smooth Ambler, was a 6 average rating. Bell and Mead Reserve was a 5.
Okay. Yeah.
Thomas S. Moore, which is a $100 bottle, that was a 6.8.
6 1/4.
I was going right there with
Yep.
you.
I was low at 6, but 6.
No,
and
once you
five.
said it, I remember where our 7s were. How many of
You were a
7s we
good
had?
Phil. You set the fucking pace. That was a good review. Solid review. I just had to be a little bit different.
All right, it's time for us to take some of your listener questions. If you have questions that you want answered or read on the show, send them our way on Instagram at RoadsterShop or at Oil and Whiskey Podcast on Instagram. At Instagram.com, where it's at on the Instagram. First up, who would you
That
like?
was the chair.
Here's the chair.
Yeah, and it didn't do it again. That's funny.
Yep. It's the worst.
Who would you like to come in the studio and turn the tables and interview y'all? You guys. Who would you like to come in here and interview?
To interview us. I don't know that I have said person, but I think it would be cool to have somebody who's kind of new to the industry that maybe just open their doors. New hot rod shop guy, somebody getting started. I think that'd be a fun time to let them fire away and ask some questions. But beyond that, I can't think of anybody that, because nobody really gives a fuck to interview me, I guess, other than that. What do you got?
Yeah, good answer.
The first person that popped in my head for no real
Waylon
reason.
Jennings is dead, dude.
No, Dave Portnoy.
Oh,
Just because I think
he's-
it would be a
he's
fucking
cool.
fun time. That's just who popped in my head.
Yo, Zach Galifianakis in a Between Two Ferns.
I just was watching the movie last night.
It's pretty good. That could be funny.
Funny dude.
Yeah.
Loves shredding people as he starts walking or starts talking to him.
This is a unique ability to do that.
Well,
Have you always been this ugly, or is that just?
Will you guys ever make a CJ/YJ frame chassis? Question mark.
Man, if you'd buy one, that's honestly been the biggest head scratcher for me. I'm shocked, and I don't know why. I mean, I have some suspicions as to why it is, but there's just been absolutely zero demand for it. I mean, I like them. I think the CJ5, when done right, they're cool. The new, the Wranglers, the Rubicons, the YJs. They're like, that's got to be the most widely modified
Yeah, it's
vehicle in
crazy. Like,
existence.
the following on the new Jeeps is huge, but the old Jeeps, you would think that would have sparked a massive follow up, but it's just
People
not
are
there.
into them. They just
Yeah, they're into them.
don't.
They're
I mean,
either
they're
like
cool, right?
hardcore off-road
Yeah.
rock crawlers, or they're like just a stock-ish restoration.
I struggle, and I'd like to hear like some people's feedback on this. What's the difference between them and the Bronco? Like, why is the Bronco, the early Bronco, so widely popular, but yet the early CJs are there's really not a place for them.
The
that I
size
see.
is kind of tough. Aren't they a pain in the ass to get in and out of? The Fens was super small.
Yeah, the CJ5. I mean, a 7 is fine. It's certain. Yeah, it's definitely not
Hard
quite.
top.
I don't know. Look at all the Broncos, man. They're 95% soft tops or
Maybe
no
it's,
tops.
maybe it's because of the way they look.
You think so?
One looks better.
I guess could be.
Interesting take on it.
So yeah, I mean, I'd love to build one. I've looked at it. It's a pretty straightforward frame or complete chassis to build, but I think we're just waiting for
We can. If anybody wants to
waiting for
buy
somebody
one,
that wants one.
we'll build you one.
So yes, we offer it. Buy it. We'll build it.
Yep. Next one up. This I didn't pre-read these. This one's a weird one. It looks like. Do you guys want some smoked brisket, pulled pork, and jalapeno sausages on the house? ? From at crafted.q. So I guess somebody's reaching out, want to know if they could bring us by some barbecue and some meat. That's easy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Bring it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very easy.
Yep.
We sure would.
Shop full of guys that love barbecue.
Yep.
Bring it
100%.
down. We'll set up a lunch and give you guys a shout out.
Love to try some jalapeno sausages
Yeah.
and
I'm a
brisket.
sausage guy. I'm not a big fan.
You don't like sausage?
Never had like the smoked sausage or the barbecue. Always stay away from it, like a pork or
I love
a
sausage.
brisket.
Sausage. Thing about sausages, it's good.
Yeah.
That's the reason I like it.
Was it inspired by the Freddy Got Fingered movie at all?
Would you like some sausage?
No, not at all. How much time per episode do you have in each podcast? Setup, editing, etc.
Very
little.
Anywhere from like So
As
to
you
give
can
you an
tell.
example, right? Like today, for example, we're thrashing out in the shop. We got 2 cars that are leaving. I'm actually just
Hearing one of them fired up.
hearing it fire up to leave. So 5 minutes before the podcast, I'm out there,
I know it's hard to believe.
and then we're
'Cause it
running up
seems
here.
so
And even
super
this, yeah,
polished.
right, it's super polished. But even this one, I felt bad, dude, because I'm looking down and I'm texting a little bit because we got 2 cars leaving. So we got some loose ends to tie up, and I mean, we don't spend 2
No.
hours typically is what we throw towards it, but usually today's an exception. We got started a little early. Usually it is after the work day.
Yep.
We are done, closed up, and we pop up here, knock it out. But Ironclad, I mean, I don't know what they do.
spend a lot of
It
time.
probably
We
takes
are
a lot of
cheating
time.
quite a bit with the Ironclad guys doing
Yeah.
the heavy lifting in the back.
Takes a lot of time for them to make us like sound remotely
But
decent. I'm
you're
guessing.
right, because we come in the very last minute. We do as best as we possibly can. Once we get in here, we're focused.
Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah,
It's
we're
fun,
ready to
but
go.
to be honest, like this isn't something that nobody's spending hours of research on. The guests are interesting people, right? So if you've got to go out of your way to like research and educate yourself on the guests, then it's probably not somebody that's really worth talking to, in my opinion. So I
Yeah.
think it's pretty cool. We've got some very colorful people, very accomplished people that come on the podcast, and we can walk right off the shop floor.
I don't
Close
think you're
up,
telling anybody that things that
walk
they don't
in
know.
here.
No
Like, they
shit.
You think
Yeah,
that's what they? Oh, I
100%.
thought they thought we like. Really? I figured they thought this was like Corey LaJoie, for example. Like we probably went to several NASCAR races. We've researched it.
No, I
we've-
think it was
It came across
pretty obvious
Yeah.
that we didn't.
All right. Let's just edit all that fucking out then.
No, we don't. I mean, I think that's we generally record for 2 to 3 hours, and it's generally after hours. Ironclad probably has
Countless hours.
Yeah.
700 hours per episode.
an absolute ridiculous amount of hours to put it in to make us look even remotely like we do.
Presentable, yeah. That's why it's important to have a good editing team. Handle it all in post.
Yeah. Post
Is
is
that what they say? That sounds legit. doesn't it?
post is the thing.
Yeah.
That's after. It's also a route in football. You run a post.
It's also using fences.
Post up.
Oh, sports reference.
Yep, you
This
do like
guy.
a right.
I need a buzzer every time there's a correct sports reference and then an
Da-na-na.
incorrect sports.
Da-na-na.
Yeah,
Ooh, yep.
that would be a great
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I gotta get.
Ooh, what sport do you post up in?
That's a b-ball. I know that. Basketball.
Ah, all right.
The ball of baskets. Basketball.
What's a
Commonly referred to as
what's a triple double in basketball?
Triple double. That's not basketball,
It sure is.
is it?
3 doubles.
I thought I was going to say ice hockey. But
Who
then I
calls it ice hockey?
sports.
I love this one. We got to do this more.
I know things. I know a lot of shit.
I know you do. How do you guys create a? Let's see, hold on. I already did that. Would you? Who would win a? We get this one all the time. Who would win a fist fight between the brothers?
I think everybody knows here that I would reign victorious over both you fuckers. Everybody knows that I dominate.
No.
Hand-to-hand combat? Yeah.
No.
Should we do it right now?
No,
On air?
I'm just telling you no.
I would defeat you.
Josh has been practicing getting his ass beat
Yeah.
by a 15-year-old for a while.
Yeah. Y'all are about the same size.
Yeah, and he whoops your ass. So it would be the same scenario.
He doesn't. Stop.
It just, you
Don't
know
say
what?
that.
You know what? It's not important because me and Phil we just love each other so much and get along so well that it will never come to fisticuffs. But if it does, you better believe I'm whooping that fucking ass.
No, the problem is
I think it'll be like back in the. What you got
Oh,
going
I
on
mean,
over there?
it's the chair, dude.
It is not the chair. Make it do it again.
Dude,
Come on, do it again.
You know you can never do that. You know it never works.
Do it again.
It never works.
That's twice. I can't hold it together. You can't expect me to be like, yeah, okay, just power.
Tell
through.
me you don't remember that. In
That was
high
the
school.
worst in school. You slide
you
your chair,
drag-
it makes a noise,
yeah, you
and you're there for like 20 minutes. Trying
Somehow you drag the
promise.
desk back in high school, and it would be like, you're like, oh, what? How the fuck? And then you try to do it again when the hot chick,
yeah, right.
when the hot chick in front of you looks back, and it's just like, yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, the only time,
even worse when it's recorded on a podcast.
yeah, the only fist fight we ever had, Phil took a shot at me, and I just ducked it like this. Hit me in the head, broke his hand. He's got soft hands.
I don't think there is a clear winner. This is how I see it going down. Phil is methodical and cunning, right?
Okay.
You refuse to go down.
Okay.
This goes on for
I think it's
way
like,
longer.
like 12 rounds.
way longer than it should.
I don't have the endurance to go 12 rounds. Like my cardio game is not there.
I think that it's a hide around the corner, catches you with a 2x4 right to the face. You refuse to go down.
I absorb it, you think?
Yeah. This is a long,
It used to
drawn
be,
out fight.
I'd have him by the forehead. He'd be like underneath swinging at me. That was way back in the day.
I mean, just
So it's a draw.
yeah, it's a draw. For now, it's a draw.
It's going to go to the judges.
Right.
What's the weirdest vehicle you have been asked to customize?
It's easy.
It's super easy.
Your lobster car?
Mm-hmm.
It's up there.
Well,
There's nothing. What beats it?
what else beats that?
Every time we're on Kindig's TV show or that episode airs, the amount of questions that we get.
Yeah, but at least those are legitimate cars that just want to be customized in a way. They didn't want to be crustacean like. I mean,
True.
a LeBaron rear-wheel drive with a big block.
That's
That came from
cool.
him.
dude. That's actually a pretty cool car.
It sounds like it. I don't think anything beats the lobster
No,
car.
was that a?
It was a
40.
39 or 41 gram.
Yeah. So this was a car. And I don't think it's on the website. But
And it's 100% not.
the customer purchased it, and he's in the seafood business. We bought it at a Meekum auction, and it is a, I'm just going to call it a 1940 because I think it's in or around 1940 Hollywood Graham. So as far as I don't know a lot about them, but it was like a big four-door kind of luxury car. I don't know if they made them in two doors. At any rate, this thing was converted to a
Two-door
two-door.
Carson top? Or is it an actual
It had a
convertible?
folding top, so somebody did some. There's some fabrication work in this thing. I'll bet you if you
Some Bondo
Google it,
work in it.
I promise you if you Google it, you'll find the car. So big 40s style fenders, and it was all red. So yeah, that's the car. Yeah. Bam. There it is. Okay. I think it's time. It's been many moons.
This is one of Jared's
So
passion projects that he really
this
got
really
behind.
was. So we had built a few cars for the customer, and in the seafood business was looking for something for a trade show display, and purchased the car. So we didn't build the car, modify the car, do really anything to create the car. It was a somebody did it. I mean, honestly, it was probably done in the 90s. It was a pretty good job. Granted, it's not maybe like the greatest looking thing, but it came in and it was already red and it legitimately looked like a fucking lobster, like already. So that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to turn it into a lobster car. So we took it to a dude who's an airbrush artist and just cut him loose. That we no, we brought it out to uh, Pennsylvania. So Billy Steele had a buddy that did it. I forget the dude's name. And I think those are Forge Line wheels
They are.
too. Forge Line did us up some wheels. Dave Voss, Voss Upholstery, whipped up some like very aquatic kind of themed. It was like shark skin or something interior. So yeah, that is definitely the most unusual car. Then not only were we asked to do it, but we actually did it. But I
Yeah,
think
that-
honestly, like when you look at the finished product, like it accomplished exactly what it needed to.
oh yeah, it looks like a lobster. That's what the guy
Yeah.
wanted.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Would you consider doing a shop walk around as a special segment on the pod? If that's something somebody wants to see, we absolutely
Yeah.
would.
I think so.
Some GoPros and do a quick shop tour.
I could get behind that.
Be great. We could do one at the end of the day, a little walkthrough. Yes, would be the answer. For entry level builders, what's your best advice when starting a new shop business? New shop business for yourself.
Who wants
Talked
to
about
start?
this, been asked
Yeah.
this several times.
Build something to show off your skill set and get your name out there, and you're probably going to have to eat a whole bunch of labor and run all around the country showing it off to get notification. Doesn't come easy. You got to bust ass and work for it.
Cool logo, don't do it. T-shirts, don't do it. Business card, don't do it. Name doesn't do it. The only business card that you have in this industry is what you've built, and you say, I did this. And then you take it and show as many people as you possibly can and say, I did this. And know when you're driving out to that show that what you're pulling is the absolute best that you can do at that point. If it's not the best that you can do at that point, don't go anywhere yet. Keep until it is the best.
Chris Gray used to have a saying pretty regularly: "Show me what you've done. Don't tell me what you're going to do."
Yeah.
He'd bring that up regularly, and
Specifically in this business, I mean, especially with customers, I mean, you can't just say, promise you it's going to be awesome. You got to have a body of work, and that is your business card. Your body of work is your business card.
That's all good stuff. I think the thing I would add to that I don't think you see a tremendous amount of this with new guys getting into the industry is, maybe don't think about like just building I'm just going to be a hot rod shop and I'm going to build a whole car. I'm going to build cars, right? If you look at what's out there, okay, like upholstery shops, like Jeremy Carlson at Avant-Garde, dude kills it, right, in upholstery shops. He's not building cars, painting cars. Find something that's very like specific, a specific task that's involved in building the car itself. Years ago there was the bent fab
Mhm.
dude who was doing just like
Tubing.
phenomenal tubing and plumbing work. I think that's the thing that's probably, in my opinion, is missing in the industry is guys that are just like kick
Specialty guys.
ass at something. That's don't try to be good at everything because chances are like the guy who's super good at metal shaping isn't going to be the guy that like sets up you know,
AC
the
box
twin
or
yeah, the
whatever.
twin turbo Holly ECU deal. Like that's just not him. So find what you are passionate about and do it and do it really good. And I think that there's a better opportunity for success in doing that than doing the whole thing. Everybody's doing everybody's doing the whole thing. There's a lot of people who aren't any good at it. There's a lot of people who are really good at it.
Right. And
So
who would those be?
The ones that are really good
yeah.
at it. I think we've had most of them on our podcast.
So yeah, find something unique, whatever it is.
Airbrushing, lobsters. That dude.
I mean,
not
honestly, yeah,
saying
like
just lobsters.
airbrushing, but
That's
maybe
right.
yeah,
You know,
like
I
right.
mean,
That's
wouldn't
probably
be-
lobsters is only going to get you so far.
paint. I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
specific things.
But
I
like
mean, you
wiring,
have-
all right. Like look at Miranda, for example. He's building kick-ass cars. He's got a thriving business doing that, but he's branched off on the Miranda Marine side, and he's rigging boats like an absolute fucking savage. Like just the highest end rigging. That's what he's good at. Has an awesome skill set with that. So he's offering that service, and people are just jumping all over it. So find what you're good at. Like, how about the wiring guy, dude? That's like, where are all the guys that are taking these cars that the fabricators are building, and Charlie Hutton's painting them, and Randy at the paint house is painting them, but where's the guy that can take them from there and say, "Give me this car, let me wire it like an absolute beast, and I'm going to send it back to you like with an Excel sheet of these are the circuits, these are your fuses, this is this is that." Take it from there.
There's probably a huge market for that type of stuff because all the shops are so busy
Yeah.
that they could use a specialty guy that can come in and bang out exhaust and
yeah.
headers and killer stuff like that, body and paint, interior, wiring.
Yeah. So be great at something. Don't just be okay at everything. That's what I'm thinking.
What is the most overlooked part of setting up a chassis?
I think it's not setting up the chassis. I think it's making the chassis work. Because
We're actually trying to.
well, yeah, like chassis fabrication there's a lot of people doing it, right? And it can get people can get enamored with or smoke showed with just beautiful fabrication. So beautiful fabrication is like a sliver of
It looks really cool until you go down
yeah,
the
it looks
road.
great. It looks great. I mean, it's very important to us. Obviously, that's like a focal point for us, but it's the engineering portion of it, and it's making the suspension work. I mean, there's so much to it that
Well, more so from a builder that
From a
has the
builder?
chassis.
Yeah, that's where I was going with mine.
Okay.
We hear from a lot
Set-
of customers, but
gotcha. Okay.
they're scared to turn knobs on shocks. They're scared to adjust the spring rate. I think you got to get an understanding for what needs to be done and then what the operating ranges are for the suspension. That's probably the biggest one that we hear
Yep.
is I want it to sit lower. I want it to sit higher. Springs are coil bound. There's no preload. The shocks are maxed out. Shocks are bottomed out. So yeah, I'd say shock and spring setup and putting the car in its proper operating range to make it go down the road the way it should.
Yeah, I mean, we get calls all the time, and it's first thing. It's where are you set at ride height right now? We send out some very really detailed instructions of eye to eye at ride height on these chassis is this chassis is this. Where are you at ride height? Well, I mean, wherever you send it to me at. Well, it
Control
should-
arms are level.
Yeah, control arms are level.
Yeah.
So
That's probably the biggest one is that there's no industry standard of control arms being level. Okay. Generally, like from a cosmetic standpoint, in or around level, but that's not just like a look at them and because they're level.
if you
means-
put them level, it doesn't magically do something.
Right.
Putting them level doesn't fix whatever else that is going wrong.
I think the best way to describe it is that to look at look at a chassis, you look at shocks and springs, almost like a an EFI motor. There's tuning that needs to be done. It's a base calibration that's in it. There's a shock and spring setup that's in it based on previous builds that we've done. If it's a 1969 Camaro or a 67 Mustang, we have countless vehicles that we've built that we pull all the data from corner weights, um, you know, various people driving them through, various situations and arrive at a shock and spring package. But when somebody calls up and it's a 59 Buick Invicta, okay, and it's a 409 with a supercharger and it's got subs in it, and Carlson did the interior, and it's got this and that.
Got to have corner weights.
You've got to have corner weights. So you've got springs on it that are going to get you started, going to get you down the road. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be pretty much on the money. But that's something that we're there to help with, I think. And just if it doesn't blow you away when you drive it, you should pick up the phone and call our sales team, because your initial, it should be phenomenal. So if there's some shock or spring tuning that needs to be done, it's usually pretty straightforward, pretty easy, because you'll be surprised at how a 1969 Camaro or something custom can vary.
No, I think you're right on the correlation with the EFI and engine tuning is great, because a GM crate motor out of the box, hook it up, wire it, crank it,
It runs.
it will run.
It's okay.
And it'll get you there and all that. And for some people, it's like, holy shit, this is awesome. Other people are like, this shift point here sucks, the tip in here sucks, idle this, blah, blah, blah. And you can make it like phenomenal with a little bit of tuning,
Yep.
and the same thing goes for the chassis. Awesome. Hey, listener questions are always,
I had one more that I got texted. Someone hit me up on Instagram.
Who's
This was,
that?
Speed Freak Garage. I'm going to paraphrase it because it's a little bit long, but I love the podcast. Love the amount of fuckery you guys do between each other. It's absolutely amazing. If you had to make a mixtape for a road tour, what would be the top 3 songs? Josh, go first. From Florida Georgia line.
we're not going to get that thing going, because I'm telling you what,
Didn't they just break up? Didn't I hear they broke up?
Did they?
I thought there was something.
What is your favorite Florida Georgia line song? Top 3?
fuck
Top 2.
Florida Georgia line. All right.
So angry.
Yeah, because they suck. Everybody knows they suck.
Dude,
All the music videos have cars and semis. And
me
like
and
cool
Phil
shit.
were looking at. I've never looked at the guys. As far as I know, Florida Georgia line, it's just a line. Like, I didn't know there were there. So there's 2 guys in the band, right? Me and Phil are looking at it. Dude,
really was confused. It was a lot.
Yeah.
I thought it was a
Well,
line
I don't
singing
know a
these
lot
all the time.
about him, right?
I
The
get it.
one dude looks like he'd whoop your ass.
No,
So I'd be
Yeah.
careful.
you're
I would
crazy.
honestly, I'd be careful,
I'm not. First of all,
because if they are breaking up and they're losing like traction, that
Might be out there
the
listening. to
music industry is
podcast.
tough, dude. That can go. You could be up here and just.
they're putting out that type of music, I guarantee you they're not listening to this podcast.
Dude, they're into cars. I'm
You
gonna
don't
get them
think
on
that-
here.
They're not.
You're
even
gonna-
get them on here.
Yeah.
I'll tell them how bad they suck to their face.
Think so?
All right.
Oh,
if you're
on Zoom. I'll do it
yeah,
on Zoom.
if you're listening and you have a connection with Florida Georgia line, somebody out there must set it up,
Make it happen.
because I guarantee you, Josh would be like, so like country music. So
They're actually not-
who was your inspiration? Johnny Cash? Do you like Johnny Cash? Hank Williams Jr.
Yeah, you guys were
Yeah.
you guys wear a lot of cool outfits. Like where do I get a shirt? Maybe
God,
like
I love
7 different types of
those
flannel.
jeans. Those distressed boots are pretty cool.
So do you guys
Do they
like
come
talk
with all the holes in
beforehand
it?
and like, we need to make this album suck even more than the last album?
I don't
And you
think
like
that's what
try
they
to
do.
make the songs that shitty?
Dude, honestly, I'd be telling
You're
dude
gonna
is-
get your ass whipped.
yeah, the one dude is seriously looks like he could.
All right.
So
So
top 3 songs.
top 3 songs for a road trip.
This is how we roll. Probably.
What is that?
That's a Florida Georgia line song.
Oh, I don't even know the Florida Georgia line songs.
Oh shit! You don't know the names. You just listen to them on repeat.
Is this really the question about
Yeah.
Florida Georgia line?
Well, I
Or is
worked
it-
into that?
or
Or
one.
is it a legitimate question?
If it's a legitimate question, I can give you some actual songs. that
I
would be
made
on-
up the question to segue into Florida Georgia line.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah, well, Florida Georgia Line sucks. And I hope somebody does have a contact and they tell them to listen to me saying how bad they suck. First of all,
I wanna
they're in
see
this
'em.
to make money. They know they suck. They don't think that their music's any good.
You think so?
They'd probably be like, "Yeah, dude, you know what? You got to do what you got to do, man. Just trying to make a little living." Sucking shit.
All right,
ass
so
I
this-
want to see him whoop your ass.
Is there a serious part of the question?
No, that was it.
Oh, the guy legitimately didn't want to know.
There was not even no guy. He
No,
made
the
it
guy
up.
was legit.
Oh.
So you just completely made that up.
I made up the question to segue into Florida Georgia
Oh,
Line.
did he have an honest question? So somebody reached out to you via DM, and you used his name, but you just completely made up a question.
Yeah, I made up a question because he was talking shit about Josh liking Florida
Oh.
Georgia Line.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
It's a roundabout way of getting there.
fuck Florida Georgia Line. I'm gonna have
Dude,
custom shirts
John,
made.
I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you right
fucking
now.
Be careful, dude.
That's fine.
Be careful.
I'll take the ass whipping being honest than lie.
Maybe
I
you can get
hope-
with them on doing jingles.
Dude, I hope it happens. Like he kicks that door in with his multi-colored flannel.
Would
shirt.
you? Would that
That
be the
is-
highlight of your fucking?
Oh my
life?
god, dude! I would sit back and I would be like, "Oh my god!" I would be. That would be fucking awesome to see.
Well, look, if you want to
Could-
get down into this, who do you think's got a better chance? Me getting my ass whooped by Florida Georgia Line or Bad Chad whooping the shit out of you at SEMA this year?
I think that the
You
altercation.
played around in the industry. We ain't gonna fuck around with nobody.
Okay. Isn't he from like Canada or something?
Yeah, he's in the.
Yeah.
He's coming to SEMA though, with a vendetta.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah,
He's gonna be there?
Big
Been
dig
po-
whoop
he's
your
been
ass.
posting shit on
Really?
Instagram.
He's
Yeah.
got a booth there.
Thanks again for listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop, an Ironclad original. If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating and review. If you listen to this show, enough of the Florida Georgia Line shit. That's great diversion because we haven't talked about Miata once.
Dude,
Oh,
this
I-
episode.
you
I
can't
showed
take
it.
it.
I showed a tremendous amount of respect to Phil because I saw so many windows.
I want to talk
opportunity.
to Corey LaJoie, see what a real driver thinks.
No,
of
it was
Miata.
it
Yeah.
wasn't a good look for us as a whole. That's why I wouldn't even want. I didn't
Yeah.
want to bring it up. Even to shit on Phil, I didn't want to bring it up.
I'm with you.
Yeah, it was just not the right time. Thanks again to our guest Corey LaJoie. Maybe we should ask him about Miatas though.
Maybe we can email him.
Well, I'll send him a text.
All right.
We'll see you again next week.